Galactic sentient broadcast. Target, planet Earth. Begin invasion in 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, invaders. My name is Scott. This is Book Invasion. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to be talking about A Pale Light in the Black by K.B. Wagers. Now, the author K.B. Wagers has written a number of other kind of sci-fi-ish books. I've seen a lot of comments about them, looking up the reviews for this. I haven't read any of them personally. I just kind of saw this book on a list of available review copies from Harper Audio. Thank you, Harper Audio. It was a sci-fi book and it had kind of all the right beats that I thought I would like. So I checked it out and grabbed it for review. It comes in at about 13 hours and 21 minutes, narrated by Marisha Tapera. The hardcover is 430 some pages, published in March of 2020 by Harper Voyager. So thank you to Harper Audio for giving me the review copy of this. Now, after reading the book, there was some parts of it that I felt left to be desired. There was a little bit of disjointedness between the plot here, and I'll get into that in a second. So the book covers kind of a Maxine Carmichael was raised in a family that owns this gigantic multi-billion-dollar company called LifeX, I believe, and she's kind of destined to follow in the family's ownership of the company, but she has a passion to go into the NeoG, which is like the Near-Earth Orbital Guard, which is like the Navy for Space Command, to kind of guard the space around the Earth, obviously. And so when she decides to go that route, her parents kind of look down on it, and they want her to stick with the business, and they kind of shun her as she pursues against her family's will to go into the NeoG. And everyone's shocked, and her family is so famous that people in the NeoG know who she is. And now she's a lieutenant in this Marine Corps. So that's where your character starts off at. Now, what the problem I think with this book is that while enjoyable, it's getting in its own way, and I feel like it's disjointed in parts where there's the boarding games. And the boarding games are what? Just like the Olympics for the Navy. There's not really a high stakes here other than the ego of this group. There's no world-ending imminent danger. There's bragging rights and ego for these boarding games. And I felt less interested in any of that just because there weren't like that big of stakes. It's like the Olympics, you know. Yeah, you can win a gold medal and you can come in first place, but all in all, in the grand scheme of the world, when you're in space on the Near-Earth Orbital Guard, who really cares? You know, I didn't really care about the boarding games aspect of it. And while the first half of the book covered kind of Maxine's integration with her group, then it got, the chapters are all titled like 15 weeks to the boarding games, 13 weeks to the boarding games, 12 weeks to the boarding games, and then there's like a rescue mission. And the rescue missions are the part that I like the most, where obviously there's a distress call. Oh no, there's a distress call, here we go, and we're out to rescue some people, things turn dangerous, and like Maxine kind of pulls her own weight and like gets in the grits, and they're like, oh, good job, you saved the day. And then they're back at the boarding games, prepping for the boarding games, prelims, yada yada, and then there's another rescue. Then they run off and do a rescue, and it gets interesting, and things happen, and there's some action. And then we're back to the boarding games, and I was like, you know, I don't care. Like, yeah, you have to train this newbie Maxine Carmichael into how to sword fight and things like that, because she's taking the place of the best sword fighter and whatever, he went over somewhere else. So that obviously it's like an underdog story of Rudy, where she wins the competition and everybody celebrates. But I wanted to know about the actual guarding of the near-Earth orbit, not necessarily just some kind of silly games that these people are playing against other teams in this NeoG, I believe, or were there other departments and factions of the military. So that's where I thought the book, I mean, it put it all together. It was good. I feel like it could be two different stories, and I wanted the actual space story more than the Olympics and the boarding game story. And I think that the book relied too much on the boarding game story to just fill in some pages. It didn't really play into the plot other than like there's a person in the games. You meet the characters because you see them and they fight against them in the games. She runs across some of her family while she's at the games, and that was kind of the mechanism for that to happen. But really, the games themselves were kind of towards the end, they were kind of glossed over, and it was just like, what was the point of any of that anyway? So I felt like this book was okay. I felt like there's a lot of things that were just getting in its own way. It was kind of a mishmash of two different plot lines. Now the characters were good, and it's very LGBTQ friendly. There's a bisexual, there's a asexual, and then like when Max is going through the crowd of people to go to the games, there's just like a slight mention of a non-binary teen in the crowd, and that has no other relevance to anything at all, and it's just the description of the person. That caught me out. I was like, okay, and that's good that you're including that. It's good, but well, why? And so there's romances, there's female romance a little bit. It doesn't get lovey-dovey, but there's just like a lady and her wife, and the guy has two moms, stuff like that in the story. So yeah, it's accessible and it has diverse characters. It felt, the cast of characters here kind of felt like the Wayfarer series a little bit. That's my dog. He's old. So the cast of characters here feels a little bit like the Wayfarer series to a slight degree. There's the rough and tough go-getter, the fighter, the tech person, and then you have Maxine, who's kind of new to absorbing all of this stuff. And it was kind of a found family thing like that, where yeah, she gets to know these people and she gets to fit in really well. They accept her, and she feels companionship to the team of her NeoG people more than she does her own family. So they integrate her well into that. But then like the whole boarding games aspect of it was just like not even Hunger Games-esque. It was just, watching the Olympics, and then a week after the Olympics you just forget everything about it. There's not really a big play for that. So I felt like that was a downside for the book. So I mean, overall it was enjoyable. It's a good space action-y thing if you like a bit of space action mixed with a bit of competitive sports, I suppose, with some character development and the found family situation, then sure, check out A Pale Light in the Black. Otherwise, I don't think it's a really strong staple of sci-fi fiction, I suppose. So it might be one you would put on the back burner, but not necessarily get to. I think there's probably going to be further books in the series. I hope that those books don't have those kind of cross-pollinating plot points. I want more of just the solid action. That's just me. You might enjoy it more. If you have read it, let me know what you think. If you read other things by KB Wagers, let me know what his stories are like in that aspect. So yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.